It's to Idaho, but maybe we'll just talk about that.
Yeah.
Like we've said, there's no point system in Idaho. They do require you to buy a non-refundable hunting license, $155, $60. The biggest probably thing to keep in mind there, if you want to apply for sheep, which they have Rocky Mountain or California bighorn, you can draw one of each in your life, or a Shiras moose or goat. You have to pick one of those species and you're done for Idaho for the year. So,
Yeah.
and you do have to front the entire tag fees, whether you apply on paper or online, for those big three, we'll call them, which is $2,100 something. So it's an expensive out of pocket. They end up keeping $175 to $200 of that, but it's a flat random draw. Whoever gets the tags gets it. Non-residents are limited up to 10% of the tags statewide.
Yeah, statewide.
For those species. So, you on some of the species like sheep, there's 20, 25 units. They're only going to draw 8 to 9 non-resident tags, and every year is just a product of the random draw where they're drawn. Whenever they come up, they can't draw more than 10% in an individual hunt code, and whenever they draw 8 or 9 or 10, 10% of the statewide tag, all the rest of the tags go to residents. So it's hard to. We portray the drawing odds as they are. Everybody's in the hat together, residents and non-residents, until we meet our non-resident quota. But straight draw, a lot of people like it for that. Some people don't.
I think you meant, when you said 10% per hunt code, I think you meant on the deer, elk, antelope, and whatnot, because like Unit 11, they don't give 10 tags.
Yeah. Well, you can't exceed. Like, let's say you've got a unit like Unit 11. They've got one. A non-resident can draw that one.
And that exceeds 10%.
That's right. But if a unit has no more than 10, like if the unit has 25 moose tags,
there you go.
They can only draw 2 to non-residents that hunt code. So there's a 10%. On sheep, it doesn't really map out great, but on goat or on sheep or on moose, you have 20, 30, 40 tags in some units, and so it's a 10% statewide, 10% by hunt code. Sheep and goat, they're all less than 10, so no more than one in that. And
that's right. And so, I just wanted to clarify that a little bit. We get talking fast. Of course, Adam and I each have had a monster, and we might have another.
That's right.
So, anyway.
We need to see about if they'll sponsor this podcast. Because we have enough of them incidentally around us that they're getting a lot of free press.
Anyway, so as we talk about, I want to talk about Idaho just a little bit more. I've drawn a moose tag in Idaho. Of course, when I did it that particular year, I couldn't have applied for elk, deer, and antelope. And then I've also drawn elk or deer tags in Idaho. And so it's a great opportunity where one year you can do sheep. Adam, I think you applied for sheep this year.
I
did the deer, elk, and antelope this year, but next year I might do sheep. It's cool
however
how
you're
you can
feeling
adjust.
that year.
And there's no point system like Adam says, and you do have to donate a hunting license fee. And so a lot of times Adam and I hunt wolves up in Idaho, and that's another cool thing. We've each killed wolves in Idaho. Adam killed an alpha male, just an unbelievable experience, and I've got lucky and killed a couple of wolves. Public land, wolf, what a trophy. We hate them, but we love them. It's an amazing feeling when you kill a wolf. You feel like you're going to go to jail.
Yeah. It's an accomplishment. That's one of the hardest
crosshairs, and you're like, can I really pull this trigger? You've been taught your whole life. Dangerous Species Act. Behind bars, you're going to get to know Bubba real well.
So if I'm in the wrong, I thought it was a coyote. If I'm in the right, I knew it was a wolf. And so anyway, what a great opportunity. And so we do that. We kind of have that knowing, we know we're going to buy a hunting license, but we're okay with it because we're going to go up there and hunt wolves. And a lot of guys hunt over-the-counter deer and elk tags.
Yeah, that's a lot like Colorado. You can use that as a last resort and buy an over-the-counter deer tag. They have whitetails there in Idaho, mule deer as well as elk. Just one thing to keep in mind, if you don't do the sheep, goat, and moose draw is about a month or month and a half before the deer, elk, and antelope. If you don't decide to put in for one of those like we talked about, you can do all 3 deer, elk, and antelope, and you don't have to front the fees. They're a little bit later in the year. A lot of people with a June 5th deadline on the deer, elk, and antelope will use it as hey, I've drawn nothing else. There's no points. I'm going to throw some names in the hat for deer and elk in Idaho.
Yeah, you can
I know you do that.
Yeah, I do that quite a bit. And so anyway, just an awesome opportunity. They have some amazing quality. The elk there's a couple of units that are just absolutely phenomenal, world class, and then deer too. If Idaho was left alone and managed truly properly, the way we would manage trophy units, it would be better in Arizona, Colorado, Utah combined probly. It's unbelievable the genetics they have. Yeah. Having said that, there are a few deer that make it to that 8, 9, 10-year-old class, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, and and are amazing. There's some 230, 40-inch deer killed every single year in Idaho. It's unbelievable. And some of them are coming off general areas.
That's
so pretty awesome.
Maybe just real quickly, let's briefly gloss over the Kansas and Iowa. They're whitetail. Iowa's a whitetail state. Kansas does have a mule deer option with the whitetail tag. Probably the biggest thing to keep in mind in those two states is they're very predictable when you want to go. They're not random. Iowa's preference points for archery, you need to accrue 2 to 4 points depending on the unit. So if you just want to know you want to hunt there someday, you're going to have to get some help, either through a friend, a connection, an outfitter, a landowner. It's 98% private land.
That's right.
You know, I don't know the exact number, but
a lot.
but it's private. Kansas as well, 95 plus.
And we both hunted Kansas.
We both have, yep. And so keep those in mind. You don't really need to build points for Kansas. It's just one of those that when you want to go, I mean, 1 point will guarantee you any whitetail tag in the state. 0 will get you probably.
You can't gain points for the mule deer.
That's right.
Opportunities. So anyway, we do cover those, even though we were known to be a Western big game hunting magazine / application service. Most of the whitetails across the east are over the counter.
Yeah, those are the two that are not.
Opportunities
That's
and
right.
on options that are actually, an application type deal where we've had a lot of demand from our clients.
That's
to do
right.
That,
so we take care of those as well. So I don't know, New Mexico. You want to jump to that one?
I guess. Yeah, let's dive in. We love that state.
No points.
So New Mexico is one of those opportunities. There's an amazing amount of opportunity in New Mexico.
A lot of species.
A lot of species. Go broke chasing them all. I know Adam killed a Barbary sheep. I mean,
they've got stuff you didn't know was alive in this country.
Yeah, that's right. So
oryx and Barbary sheep and ibex and those are some of the exotics they got. And then of course deer, elk, antelope, coos deer. Desert and Rockies.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a lot of opportunity there. They all 3 choices on the application count. There's no point system, so it's one of those things you can put in for 1 or 2 awesome areas, and then something you'd accept on the end. And we do a lot of that. We do. There's giant bulls killed. I've hunted 23 and killed a 360s bull in 23. I killed one of my biggest bulls, 386 in unit 38. Something that was the first year it was available to non-residents, but it was one of those that hadn't been open for 20 plus years, as near as I could tell, and figured there had to be at least one giant. And so New Mexico's just one of those. There's the standard good ones that'll always be good, probably 16D, 16A, 15's a popular one, 17, 13. But then there's a lot of those that are not so popular that are amazing.
That's right. And so the biggest thing to keep in mind there, no point system. You're not falling behind if you decide not to put in. They do require you to front the tag fees when you apply. They allow you to do it on a credit card. For sheep, that's over $3,000. So, yeah, be prepared for that. Whenever we go through New Mexico planning strategy with somebody, we always identify that because you can run up $10,000 on your credit
with your
card.
ibex, oryx, sheep, and
elk.
then if you have a son or a daughter doing it,
pretty 15
soon
or 20,000.
Yeah, you're thankful for 0% cards.
Yeah, and so we highly recommend that on that point. For a state like New Mexico, you can pay other application services to front your fees. You'll pay out the nose for those because they're putting it on there. But this day and age, we all throw away dozens of offers in our mailbox every month from
0%.
credit card.
And you're only fronting it for what?
30 to 60 days, depending on when you apply in the application period. You wait towards the end. You apply. It's on there 30 days. Sometimes you don't even get a full cycle.
Even if you paid a little interest, not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world. You're say be a lot cheaper. Most people, the way we view it, that are looking for somebody to do their application service, that hunt a lot, that spend a lot on their applications, probably have a credit card. They can front a few of those states like that. They'll save a grundle of money by using their own card. Refund goes right back to your card or a check to you. Application service like us doesn't handle it. There's no money that has to swap back and forth. So, but back to New Mexico, you do have to front the fees. It's a great state. Not super deep on their mule deer. They got a few key units up in the northern part of the state. Very hard to draw trophy mule deer down there.
Tough.
It's really more known as one of the top 3 or 4 elk states. Ton of variety. 280 to 310 bulls, 330 to 350, and 350 plus type unit. It's something for everybody.
And they have the outfitter draw versus the regular draw. So if you go with the outfitters, a lot of times there's opportunities to draw tags with a lot better drawing odds. And so we use that, as well, and we apply guys with outfitters and to help them out. Sheep as well. It is tough to draw a sheep tag.
That's right.
No matter what the cost is, even though it's a $3,000 upfront fee.
That's right. If you're going to hire, much like Nevada for deer, New Mexico has a guide pool for 10% of the tags that go to residents or non-residents that apply with an outfitter. Only 6% go to non-residents that are just on their own. And then the other 84 go to residents. And so there is a higher percentage of tags plus fewer applicants in the outfitter pool. You'll have better drawing odds. But that does apply for every species. Yeah. So something to keep in mind. For antelope, sheep, you'll have 1 sheep tag in the unguided pool and 2 in the guided.
Yes.
Your odds are roughly twice as good.
Twice as good. From what our calculations
last year it was. Anyway.
Twice as good. And to keep in mind, on the guided pool, residents and non-residents can draw those tags.
That's
so
right.
Even residents.
We apply some residents with outfitters in their state because they know they're going to hire somebody.
Yeah.
And they just want it.
And the odds might even be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Even though there's only 10% of the tags, still might be a little bit better.
Then staying in the resident pool. It just depends on those. So
great opportunity. The Coues deer average at best, somewhat spotty. But at the same time, they do kill some giants. Just like anywhere, there's just a lot of cover. There's low population base, except for like in Albuquerque. There's just a low population base of people. And so you got a lot of these little tiny towns.
Around
same thing. There's bulls that aren't named. We don't have that in Utah.
Yeah.
We name our bulls. We name them all. And we might name them when they're born. And that's the same thing with Nevada and Arizona. They have names, and there's specific plans on how to kill those bulls and who's going to kill them. And the outfitters are competing against that. New Mexico's wild and crazy. It's one of those places that they've got outfitters, but it's interesting because you just never know. There's bulls coming out of the woodwork that people haven't named, didn't know about, but it's a big country down there. It's thick. Even the burns are still thick with the standing dead, and a lot of great feed. And so we love that state. It's probably good we don't live there because we'd be addicted to everything. We'd probably be knocking down a few
Barbary sheep every single year, or an ibex off range every year.
There's crazy,
or oryx,
crazy opportunities, just crazy amounts of opportunities, and so something for everybody in New Mexico. Anyway,
let's get one of those states that it's good to supplement with other states where you just don't draw forever.
Well,
there's no
keep
predictability.
In mind, to buy your way in, you can buy elk tags in that state for $6-7 grand.
On the trophy unit.
The very, very best tags are going for 12, but for good solid tags that are great opportunities, especially for archers, you're talking $6-7 grand. 8 on a high end, and yet you
350 plus bulls.
Yeah, you can't do that in Nevada.
No,
Nevada tags are 17 to whatever thousand.
That's right.
Utah
Opportunity tags
crazy,
in New Mexico,
expensive.
You can get them for $1,200 to $1,500 for opportunity elk tags.
Yeah, we bought some.
That's right.
$1,500.
That's right.
And you're still hunting a 300 class bull. That's hard to beat.
Yeah, it is.
Can't
Especially if you're a self-guided guy and you don't need a guide outfitter, all that. You can go that route. Montana. I guess let's jump to that real quick. A lot of people ask us.
I want to draw a sheep tag in Montana.
Right.
How about that?
And
Adam, you've hunted?
I have. Driven a goat tag in 2003. Had a great hunt up there. I do the sheep and the moose as well. The big three, so to speak. They're Rocky Mountain Bighorn or legendary. We all know that. It's what we all dream of. I set my bar a little bit higher in that state for that reason.
Well, it's because you killed a California bighorn, which is a subspecies of the Rocky.
I don't need one. I want one, but I look at Montana as like, let me have a chance to kill a 185, 190 ram.
Yes.
I don't need just a ram in
Colorado,
Montana.
you're going to kill
160 or 70.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
And that's what you're looking at. So for Montana, that's the one place that you can just
dream big. I have great goats, great sheep. Sheep hunts are generally not very difficult physically. Their moose have seen better days, like several states out west right now. They don't make you front the permit fees for any of those three. It's a flat application fee, $80 or $90 per species by the time it's all said and done, and you apply. Where we get the most questions about Montana, no question, is the deer and elk. Yep. Their draw system is a little bit complicated.
It's interesting.
That's right. And it's
they've
not
got
clean.
Great opportunities.
They do. To try to gloss over it as quick as we can, non-residents have to first, when you obtain a general season deer or elk or deer-elk combination license. Apply for that. You have to obtain that, and in some of those cases, like the elk this year, they're guaranteed. So you're going to get it. But you can't
elk
just
deer
cherry
combo
pick.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just cherry pick and say, put me in for the best trophy deer and elk units in Montana for the minimal application fees. You can't do it. They get you on the hook for the general license, which the deer and elk combo is over $1,000.
Yes.
All right. You've got that. Then you pick your
Apply
limited
for the
quota
breaks
units
or somewhere.
for archery breaks or
Yep.
270, 261 deer, whatever.
280,
You don't draw. Now you're either stuck with a general tag you don't
or you
want.
can get an 80% refund.
That's right.
But
That's
80%
the system. 200
still
and something bucks.
expensive.
That's right.
So
So it's easier to just do that in a minute like that, but there's a lot of little intricacies about that because you can go to hunt some of the units in the breaks every 3 to 4 years. You just got to be willing to eat that $200 and something every year when you don't draw. If you want to build the points,
I ate it this year, so I think it's and I wasn't happy
for a
about
big
it.
bull.
So, but I think it's a better opportunity for guys that are actually want to use that general tag and then go up there and hunt. And you can still kill a giant out there in the general. It just takes, just like Idaho, you can hunt over the counter. In Colorado, you can hunt over the counter. I would say there's better opportunity in Montana. It can take a little work. There's some public land. You're willing to get aggressive, go do it. Or private land, you want to pay some trespass or whatnot, or an outfitter, go do it. There's opportunities up there. Just going to take some work and research. And once you get going, you'll probably end up there every year.
That's right. So that probably
the deer they're hunting over the counter. A lot of them are
most of the
general,
state, probably 90% of the state.
Yeah,
wouldn't it
in
be?
the rut with a rifle.
Yeah.
So that's not a good management tactic. Like
To
we
have
said,
big deer
with the
for
exception
giant
of
deer.
Colorado, because they're still on a draw system and they're really managing the number of tags that are issued. And it's a deer factory in Colorado. You can't hunt deer in the rut over the counter with
That's
a
right.
rifle. Does not
Repeatedly
work.
that deep
It's-
on unlimited
and
tags.
so then you end up with a 270 tag or something like that. It's actually managed and limited, and then you end up with some good bucks.
That's
So
right.
it does. It has great genetics, and people will call us after watching this and show us the 210 inch. They
And they're
killed last year.
440 bulls, and they do
They
exist.
do
400
exist.
inchers.
Unbelievable.
It's just
but
for
having
residents,
said
it's a lot easier to jump through. Non-residents, it's a little harder to swallow their application system for eating that general tag if you don't want to use it. So, jumping down to Utah.
Utah?
Maybe. We know anything about Utah?
Oh, jeez, I hate Utah. Utah's one of those. I mean, of course, I don't even know where to start. There's so much opportunity in Utah, but it's also limited as well. It's very tough. It's tough to draw.
And it's different from a resident and non-resident perspective
That's
too.
right.
We're residents here, so Jason's a little bit of his frustration is we have to pick one once in a lifetime species
and one of the others,
and one of the limited entry deer, elk, or antelope.
So
and
for
so
sheep, goat, moose, or bison, choose one.
So Jason, let's just have it. Let's be frank. How many once in a life? You've drawn 2 once in a lifetime, which is pretty dang good. You do a buffalo when you're 15 or 16 years
15.
old,
Yep.
and then through the maximum point process after they started that in about 93, you drew a desert sheep.
Yeah.
Of the others, how many have you drawn deer, elk, and antelope in your life? You've drawn, I know one elk. I can't remember of deer.
Yeah, I drew
you
the
do
elk
an
on
elk.
Southwest
You
Desert.
drew an Alton deer.
I drew Alton.
But is that
back
it?
then it was a posted
Back-
hunting
yeah.
unit. It's now a CWMU program, and that's
Is that
available
it?
to residents only. And so and that
in
was
your
in a
hunting
drought
life
year.
in
That's-
almost
that's-
30 years, is that about all you've drawn?
Yeah, that I did draw a Ponsagon muzzle back when they had the muzzle in the rut.
Okay.
I drew that, but I was so young, there was no way in heck I was even able to maximize that tag.
Yeah.
There was giants walking around me. I probably never saw them.
But-
I was a young little kid.
Okay, and so
That's it.
I have yet to draw on my once in a lifetime. I've drawn an elk tag on Mount Dutton, and I drew an antelope tag back when I was like 15. We could put in for everything back then, if you remember.
Yeah.
I drew one of those back then. That's it.
I've yet to draw either.
Okay.
So now we've got the general, which we used to get over the counter.
We do get to hunt those every year.
Now they're on a limited draw basis. Thankfully, the quality's coming back.
I
It's
would say
fairly
that's
decent.
a bright spot coming
It's a
up on
bright
Utah.
spot, and so we've got deer tags.
Yeah.
General
And from
deer
a
tags.
non-resident perspective, switching gears just a little bit, they allowed when they started making people pay a non-refundable hunting license of $30, $35 for residents and $65 for non-residents. I think they were afraid non-residents they were gonna leave Utah.
Yeah.
So they let them do every species.
And that way they could justify
spending
paying this non-refundable hunting
That's
license.
right. And all it really did was diluted all those other pools. Really, it just threw everybody almost does
Makes
them
you
all.
feel warm and fuzzy. They got points for every species.
Yeah, it really didn't help anything, and it hurt the people that were probably top heavy in a few of the species. But anyway, that's how Utah works. $65 for non-residents, then $10 per species, no permit fees up front.
Yeah.
Back on the general deer that you're talking about, that's the only real thing, unless you've accumulated a lot of points. Utah gives for the limited entry and once in a lifetime, half the tags go to the people with the most points.
Half on a random
half
draw.
go random.
And the more
Those are-
points you have, the more names you have for those random draw tags.
So, but for the most part, Utah's very conservative. A little bit like Nevada on limited entry. Like when you got something, you really got something, but they don't come around very often.
No.
So you guys
But having
started
said
off with the
that-
general deer tags. There's something you might want to look at incorporating because they're they're not to be overlooked anymore.
Yeah, so you can apply for 2 deer tags. You can apply for the general, and you can apply for the limited entry, and get points separately for
Separate
each one.
categories.
Both.
So yeah, we do recommend guys doing that. Anyway, what was
Yeah.
I going to say? I can't even remember. There was something. I need another monster. So anyway,
great state, a lot of
yeah,
public land, high trophy quality.
we hunt our
tags
bulls
don't
in the
come around.
rut. We hunt archery, muzzle rifle. A lot of our, and then of course we have some late seasons as well. But while if we rifle hunt them in the rut, we have to give less tags to maintain quality. So it's tougher. We could give more tags. We hunt them in October, November, and let them alone in the rut. But we like that here in Utah. We like killing stuff when they're bugling.
Well, and we do have a bunch of once-in-a-lifetime species. They're very hard to draw, but we've got desert sheep, Rocky Mountain bighorn, free-ranging bison, which are doing incredible.
Amazing.
Henry Mountains, and now the Book Cliffs and other
That's
units, those opportunities have really increased. Mountain goats as well have increased. Shiras moose, again, like some other states, are kind of lower in numbers right now. But you got 5 of those once-in-a-lifetime species. You got, awesome hunts. Anything you draw in a limited entry into Utah, with a few exceptions. You mentioned your favorite unit earlier, the Oak Stansbury. That's one of those. Probably, with that exception, you're probably going to have an awesome hunt. Just
probably
busted
worth
it.
mentioning the dedicated hunter program for
Well, the
residents and
dedicated
non-residents.
hunter does pertain to the general deer tags, and so you can, as non-residents or residents, can participate in that program. You do have to draw to be able to be
it
accepted.
took me
You
a
can't-
point this year.
Yeah, to
to
get
draw.
just
Yeah.
dedicated,
Right.
and then once you're a dedicated hunter, you can kill 2 deer in 3
Locked in
years.
for 3 years for that
Gotta do
unit.
some
on
service
all 3
hours.
If
Or-
you got time to hunt, it's a great way
It's
to
amazing.
get
It's
out
like
there.
buying a landowner tag in Nevada. You can hunt all seasons.
Yeah.
You can hunt the archery, muzzle, and rifle until you kill a deer, and then you can only kill 2 deer in 3 years. So basically they're saying, well, you're a dedicated hunter by doing that, and then you do some service hours or buy them.
Or buy them.
This state can be bought, which is nice.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Especially if you're non-resident. It's
even
nice.
residents, sometimes we get busy. At $20 an hour, I don't know what they're costing at the moment, but anyway, you can buy those dedicated hunter hours that you owe, and then be able to hunt and hunt extended time frames, and also you're getting a deer tag every year. You don't have to draw the general each year. You're getting the next 3 years, you're getting a deer tag every year, and with some time and energy. Elbow grease, so to speak. Even some of these general areas here in southern Utah, we know people that would not trade you a Henry's tag for one of their general deer tags because they're hunting specific giants. We have great genetics, and if you have escapement and deer that can make it to 6 to 9 years old, you're going to have some giants, and we have that.
Yeah. I do believe you've killed 1 or 2 good bucks on
Killed a
general
couple of good
units.
ones. Killed a couple of good ones. But having said that, I'll go through 15 years of getting general deer tags.
And then kill 1
Basically,
year,
yeah.
go
eat
back
'em,
to back,
and then
Right.
kill back-to-back,
Yeah.
pair
and
of
then
bucks that were
go
running
6 or
together.
8 years again.
I'm in a drought.
Yeah.
So anyway, but
maybe
it's,
one thing about Utah as well is if we're painting a bleak picture regarding the draws, and it somewhat is for trophy quality, it's a great state for guarantee tags, both through the CWMU and landowner tag or
Yes.
conservation
Yes.
permit program. They do cost some money, but you can bypass the draw by a unit-wide conservation tag or landowner tag or a CWMU, a cooperative wildlife management unit tag, and hunt on private property, much like Colorado's Ranching for Wildlife property, with an outfitter. 60-day seasons. Again, you get to hunt elk in the rut, deer in the rut in some units till November 10th. So if we book a lot of hunts for Utah for people that want to bypass the draw, book a deer hunt, book an elk hunt. That's something we can help you with.
Yeah,
there.
and with the CWMU program, they do offer a few resident tags to be drawn in through the regular draw process. And so, anyway, that's kind of a trade-off. We're going to give you extended seasons and guaranteed tags in trade that the public can come in and hunt for no fee. No extra charge. So kind of an awesome opportunity. What we do like about Utah, we love Utah for big stuff, the variety, and we also love it because people with 0 points draw. They can draw.
Yeah.
You can draw with no points, and we see that every year.
Yeah, every single year. That's right.
So,
That maybe brings us to Washington and Oregon. So that's we'll talk about Oregon first. So it's one of those states that that used to cost about $75 to buy their non-refundable hunting license back when Jason drew a sheep tag up there.
Yeah,
Random
2004.
draw,
Yeah.
no points. 2004, I drew another
First
one in
time
2008.
West John Day was opened
Yeah,
to
I drew
non-residents.
an East Beatty's Butte. Same year it was open. That was just coincidence. $8 application fee, license fee. They've jumped that. License fee's doubled now, so
Yes.
it's not a $85 sheep application.
No,
It's 160 or so.
60.
They've added non-resident goats. They don't have points for those species, so your odds are 1 in 2 to
400.
600 for some of
Yeah.
these sheep hunts,
That's right.
which is on par for a lot of other states. It's hard to talk down too bad to Oregon because they've been good.
They've been good
Giving
to
me a
us.
sheep tag.
But are
You
you
too.
applying in Oregon right now?
No.
Okay, am I?
So-
No.
I'm not
And
either.
so it's one of those opportunities. I mean, they do have blacktails, and they have some good opportunities. Colombian whitetail, some of these weird species, but a different species.
Columbia, yeah, exactly.
As well as
Anything that's not mule deer is weird to you.
well, elk, sheep.
Roosevelts, they do have a big variety, and
they do. They do.
and the way they work their quote up there, 10% tags. They usually just designate which units you can apply for as a non-resident. You got 5 or 6 sheep tags a year, roughly, 1 or 2 mountain goat tags. Deer, elk, and antelope, they have a quota system that is not very favorable to non-residents. It 95.5, and of those 5, half of those
Could go to
can go to outfitters. So you're
Yes.
in essence on those deer and elk going for about 2.5% of the draw permits.
Pretty
Some
tough to
units will
take.
have one tag
And they'll alternate
every other
years
year.
because of that.
Yeah, you'll have one tag in the draw for a non-resident that year.
Yep.
Usually it'll go to a max point holder. And the next year it goes to an outfitter. Antelope is even less than that. It's like
Now,
3.
there's going to be some people that come after us on this Oregon
They are.
podcast, and the part of that is they do have a lot of elk and a lot of game, but they're just not managed for quality. So it's hard for us to justify driving to Oregon to go hunt, Murder's Creek for elk or something. We just aren't going to do it. But they do. It's a game-rich state, and for guys that just want to kill stuff, go to Oregon. It's great.
Or if you're a
They'll do
resident,
it.
it's a different story.
Yeah, it's a different story, and they do have great genetics, and there are some big deer, and we've hunted the juniper muzzleloader deer tag and Malheur, and I've spent a lot of time up in some of that country in trout creeks and whatnot over the years, and some of that was through these outfitter tags we're talking about, the 2.5%. Some of it was through that, and so a guy has a juniper muzzle tag, go hunt it. If you want to hunt it, go hunt it. Don't wait 10 or 15 years. Go buy a tag, and they're not that expensive.
No,
They
that's
really
right.
aren't.
It's they've got some incredible elk units, about 3 or 4 of them for trophy quality.
yeah.
You're going to take one tag every other year
We've
for
been
most
into
of them.
Wanaha,
That's
archery.
right.
It is, and there's
So,
some good elk.
if you've got a ton of points accumulated, okay, you might look at those, but generally, most people look at it this day and age. If you're just starting, I want my name in a hat for another sheep tag, and if you're doing that for sheep, it's hard not to say, for your $8, get a deer and an elk point.
And we did that.
Yeah, we did that until we drew our sheep, and then we're like, okay, and then they raised the cost, and I'm like, well, you can get a guaranteed outfitter or general season Roosevelt or even blacktail tags. You don't have to draw some of those oddball species. You can go
get a
around the
tag.
draw and go shoot one sometime.
Oh, you can hunt Applegate blacktails with a rifle prior to that late muzzle.
On a general.
And I did it.
Yeah.
And so, I can sit around and wait and build points and work towards just a season change. I'm just hunting a different season. It does make a difference. I'm not minimizing it. It's an amazing difference hunting deer, blacktails in October versus the rut. There's no question there's a difference. But with a little bit of elbow grease, you can hunt the same unit, same bucks over the counter every year.
So maybe a little bit hard to justify for a non-resident. It's totally up to you. It could go either way. If you're really adamant and applying for as many sheep states as you can, probably do it. If you're a deer and elk trophy person, I wouldn't even consider
And they do
starting
have
it.
points. Obviously, we've been talking about it. They got points for the other species other than sheep and goat. So anyway, you can, it's a 75-25 split.
Yeah.
75% of the tags go to people with the most points. 25% on a random draw. It's just tough to split one tag.
Yeah, when you got one, it's going to go to the max.
It's a little bit tough.
I guess it brings us to Washington. We primarily just address the big 3, the sheep, the moose, and the goat up there. It's a $110 application fee per species. They have a point system. It's well established, 15, 16 years now.
Wow.
They square your points.
Square 'em.
It's random. There's no non-resident quota. Whoever draws the tag gets them.
Having said that, the odds are still rough.
They're really rough. There's a lot of residents in Washington, hunters. So they're in the draw, and then the non-residents all draw together. Very, very tough odds. It used to be about $50, $55 per species. It's been doubled to $110. little bit harder. It's harder to justify, especially 16 years into a squared point system. You're a lot of points.
So do you apply in the Washington?
I don't personally.
No,
Jason.
me neither. So anyway, it is one of those opportunities. We do it for guys, and there's some guys. We call it maybe a money no object guy. He absolutely wants every opportunity to draw a sheep tag, no matter if it's 1 in 5,000 or 1 in 5.
That's right.
And so we apply those guys, and that's what our service does. It's our job to help you understand what you're up against and what your non-refundable dollars are gaining you, no matter what state we're talking about. And so we just want to be honest. That's all. We're not bashing Washington.
No, and
there's some incredible opportunities in Washington. There's some big sheep, big goats, big moose that have been killed. There's big deer. I've got guys that hit me up about deer all the time. Every week I'm having a Washington guy, I had a guy draw an awesome tag the other night and hit me up. And so, not saying I know anything about it, but I'm into big deer and I know they have a few. And so we're not trying to run it down that way. Just from a non-resident perspective, those are our feelings on it.
Adding to that, the deer and the elk is a different setup. It's not just a $50 or $100 application fee for that. Non-residents have to first acquire what we'll just label as the general deer elk tag, and then you buy that. And there's no 80% refund like there is in Montana. And you're in at $400, $500, $600 depending on the species. And then you can add the quality hunt. Very, very tough to draw those. So there's a very high probability you're just going to spend a lot of money to get a deer or an elk.
We're talking the most amount of non-refundable dollars of any state.
That's right, for deer and elk. So that's why we don't cover it. Residence is a totally different story. You're there. It's cheap. Non-residence is very, very hard to justify unless you live in a bordering state like an Oregon or Idaho and you go to hunt there every year. Yeah. Totally different states. Yeah. So maybe one state we didn't talk about real briefly is Alaska. We do cover the Doll sheep drawing up there. Yeah. A lot of Alaska, the majority of Alaska, you can book hunts with outfitters any year you want. Go hunt Doll sheep in what we'll just label as over-the-counter areas. But there are areas like the Toke Management Unit and the Chugach 14C units like that.
13.
That they control the number of tags. They set a quota aside for non-residents and residents. You generally, in almost all cases, have to have an agreement signed with an outfitter. By law, all non-residents have to hunt with an outfitter up there or a first degree of kindred relative. Yeah. Signing a contract with an outfitter is just a formality. You got to do it.
Yeah.
So, get that taken care of. It does allow you to apply for units that on general are going to have more mature rams and maybe a better chance at a trophy ram without having resident pressure flooding there or whatever. They're generally like the Chugach is close to Anchorage. It's mainly just to keep all the Alaska residents from just overhunting it. That's basically why we've got what we've got. And they do offer great hunts,
Well, having said that, you are applying to hunt a better quality animal. You're not going to save money on the guide fee.
No.
Your guide fees might even be more.
Yeah.
It's not
you're going to spend
it's not about saving money up there. It's about I'm applying for these units that are managed for trophy quality versus, like you said, kind of indicating over the counter for residents and non-residents.
That's right. So we do cover it. It's an early application deadline, usually mid-December.
Yeah.
So if you're considering that, it usually takes a little bit of planning ahead of time. You've got to get a contract signed. A lot of times people are still hunting in November, early December. Just something to be aware. We do cover Alaska as well.
So
and we can help you find outfitters and
just like any of these states.
Help you figure it out.
We can help you get hooked up with them, get the contract signed, and whatnot.
So Wyoming's one of those states. It does have some great elk hunting. It's got marginal deer hunting, although there's some big bucks. The general areas like Region G and H, like Adam, as when we've maybe alluded to earlier in this podcast. I can't even remember exactly everything we've talked about, but the G and H are over the counter for residents, and yet they're killing some of the biggest deer in the state. It's an odd situation.
Yeah,
it's like some of our giants on our general down here in Utah
being the best in the state.
Yeah, the biggest deer in the state of Utah killed last year. Well, depending on, we'd have to go and fish on nets and stuff. Yeah. But every year, some of the biggest deer aren't killed on the Henrys. They're killed up here on the mountain, and so on our general. And so anyway, having said that, some of the traditionally good units, 102, 101, 128. Somebody drew 128 in this circle. But anyway.
Good luck, John.
Anyway, offer some good hunts, relatively speaking. But it's relative. It's not one of those states, I feel bad. I think Wyoming could be much better than it is, and I think even the residents know that. The residents just aren't willing to give up hunting every single year and buying that tag
Deer
over
now.
the counter.
Yeah, and their genetics are great for deer. They just simply don't manage on their. Then they do have limited entry units. Unit, like you said, 101, 102, 89, 90. They just don't manage them for trophy deer. It's mainly they have to carve them out of the general units because they get pounded when they're in the general.
That's right.
So let's just control the hunting pressure. It's not to let's grow giant bucks.
No.
Elk is a kind of a different story. It's a great elk state, and there's something for everybody. There's general season tags that you get to draw every other year. There's units that you now need 11 or 12 points, which is max, and you still can't draw them.
Yeah.
So all ends of the trophy spectrum.
Well, and we've killed some, bulls up there. I've hunted with my dad and killed a 400-inch bull in Unit 61, Carter Mountain. Kind of a weird, interesting name. But anyway, we've hunted 58 in some of these different units up there, and of course, Adam, you've hunted in Unit 7, and I mean, there's just a lot of good opportunity up there for hunting 340, 350. To 380 plus bulls.
Yep. Or easier to draw stuff that's 280 to 320, tons of those. And then, we left out antelope. You can't
it's an amazing antelope state.
Wyoming without mentioning antelope.
My go-to state for antelope.
Yeah, I mean, you've got something, you've got trophy units. And,
the way you guys cape antelope is amazing. I've never seen guys that cape antelope like you.
It's unique, for sure.
So, anyway.
But yeah,
Eastern using a shovel, but
leave that to your imagination. But antelope have extreme trophy units with high amounts of public land and low tag numbers. If you want to wait that long, some of the red desert units, somewhere in between, and then you got the eastern third of the state, which is heavily private land, and you can hunt antelope every single year there. It is going to require some knocking doors or an outfitter or landowner type hunting situation, but if you ever want to hunt antelope or you like to hunt them, everybody should be applying for antelope up there.
Antelope up there. And so, as far as the sheep, goat, and moose, absolutely be applying. There's a lot of units that don't have random tags, and so you can see when you're going to be able to draw for the guys that have a lot of points for the sheep, goat, and moose. And so, not goat, sheep, and moose. So you can kind of see when you're going to draw, and then you can see what your random drawing odds are if you don't have very many points.
That's right. They give 75% of the tags in Wyoming. This is for non-residents, for moose, sheep, and goat, and deer, elk, and antelope. 2 applicants with the most points. The other 25% go randomly.
And a random draw. And if there's only 3 or less tags,
they'll all go to max points. And so, we use that in our application strategy for our guys. We're not going to put them in for Unit X. If Unit X gave 2 tags last year and is going to do it this year, and they're both going to go to people with 18 points, because you have no random chance that guy just wasted sending in $2,200 for a sheep application.
But there's a lot of people that do that because they only want the best unit. Well, the best unit is not available.
It's the best unit that you can draw in your situation.
That's what we do. We do the best unit that you can draw, that you even have a 1% chance of drawing. If you want the best, we look at it. If you have a 0% chance, but you can still submit that application, we don't do it that way, but some people do. So anyway, and then it is an interesting state, whereas if there was, let's say there's 2 non-resident tags and you put in as a party of 4, your guys could all draw. They'll issue more tags.
They'll exceed the quota to meet your group. It's a great group application state for that very reason.
Get down to the last tag available, and your group's drawn. They'll give you all tags.
That's right.
It's nice.
Didn't really talk about that, but if you ever have a group party applications, it's very easy to pull those together in our application system. Some states have limitations where you can and can't do that, but we can go through that on an individual by individual basis. But
we don't need to get that detailed, I don't think. But for purposes of this podcast, it was just a little something. It's one state that offers that.
I think one thing that we really need to cover is license application service and having people do your applications for you. Are you a good candidate for that, or can you do it on your own? Because you can do all of this on your own. I like to say it's similar to doing your taxes. It's something you can do on your own. Can somebody else do it? Right. Do you want to do it?
Really
do you have time?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd say if you've ever missed an application deadline, you're a good candidate.
And if you miss one every year or whatnot, it might be something you want to consider.
Sometimes, if you miss one, depending on the particular application it might set you back 10 years.
Yeah.
You can't catch up. It's one of those things, and we've talked about a lot of these states that taken 15 to 20, 25 plus points. 1 point is a monumental, kicking you out of the max point pool, kicking you out down to whatever, so anyway, it's a tough, a very interesting dynamic, and it's one of those things where we can't tell you if you're a good candidate. Only you can tell you. But we have a lot of guys that want us to do it just because we're not going to miss a deadline. But they tell us which units they want. So you can still choose your units and have us doing them. And some guys are just busy. They're doing construction, doing whatever, foreman on jobs. They're working 25 out of 24 hours in a day, and they absolutely do not have time to do it. But they want to be in charge of their applications. No problem. You're in charge. Just tell us what you want to do, and we'll do it.
We've made it fairly simple as well in terms of a fee structure. It's either $50 for a state or $100 a state, depending on if you're doing 1 to 2 species is $50, 3 or more in a state is $100. At any time your application total gets to $500, it stops.
It stops.
We alluded to that a little bit earlier when we were talking about some of the states like California or maybe the Washington or Oregon.
We did, yeah.
We're not just simply going to talk you into adding everything and racking up a bill of $800,000, $1,500, $2,500 like some other application services will rack up.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's almost a guided hunt for some species
Yeah.
in 2 years.
You do it for 3 years, you've got a heck of a great elk tag into
So,
Mexico.
You can't spend more than $500 a year with us. And we've, I think, covered the rationale behind our research and, on the magazine that we do. We're doing that. We eat, drink, sleep, drawing and obtaining tags in the West. As far as writing the Epic Outdoors magazine, we have that. We're going to evaluate your application as yours, but also through our eyes, because we look at things the way we look at them, because that's what we've done for 20 years.
Well, and I just it's hard. I was a little apprehensive about doing this podcast because it's hard to talk about yourself or what you do and maybe why you're the best at it and why you think what separates you out from everybody else. But this is something we've lived for 20 plus years. When I was in college, and we're talking in 1994, 95, I was applying in Arizona, on my credit card to get points and stuff. And I know, Adam, you were the same. And we've lived it, breathed it, drinked it, and this is the only way we've ever obtained tags. Now we're buying a few little landowner tags here and there to supplement our draws, and we recommend you do it too. But there's a time and your life changes, and as things change, your application strategies change, and that's what we do. We work with people depending on what their situation is. And it doesn't matter what your situation is. Everybody should be applying. I've got multimillionaire guys applying. I mean, because like we've talked about, it's hard to buy your way in everywhere. If it's a $100,000 bill to buy a governor's tag for an Oregon sheep or whatever it is, every time you want to go do something, it's still tough to justify for these people. And so the draw system is for everyone. It's just how you're going to use it and how you're going to mold it to what your situation and needs are.
That's right. So, yeah, if you have any interest, you know how to get a hold of us. That's hopefully a breakdown on our license application. There's a lot more ins and outs. We've taken a bunch of time to try to go through the states and how they all work. There's a lot more to it than that. We take it very seriously. Like we said, a $500 maximum each year. If you only do 2 or 3 states, that might be $200, $150, $200. It's not a $500 or nothing. Glad to help you out, whether it's a last minute deadline that you need to make, or if you're only doing sheep in 3 or 4 states. We have guys that do that, and we have guys that do 10 or 12 states, and we do them all for them.
Yeah.
We can handle it. We're never going to miss a deadline. We'll treat your application with respect to what you want that year out of your application strategy.
There's a lot of, it's interesting. Like, we have a lot of clients that have us do their licenses, but we take pride in it. Having said that, Adam and I choose everybody's units. We put our hands, so to speak, on every application that goes out of the office, whether it be online or paper. And I think we're going to maintain that. That's what separates us is we do it ourselves. We've drawn a lot of tags this year. I cannot tell you, and I don't want to tell you necessarily, but it's an amazing amount of tags that we've drawn this year. And a lot of it is due to the fact that we're analyzing the odds. We're analyzing exactly what they want. If 340 bull, a 345 bull, a 360 bull, or a 400 bull, or whatever it is. Same thing with mule deer, same thing with sheep, goat, moose, everything. And we're analyzing those odds depending on the weapon they're comfortable with, whether it be archery, muzzle, or rifle. And we're tailoring it, exactly tailoring it, because we want you to draw. We want them to draw. We want them to book hunts. We want them to be able to hunt here in the West and to be successful. There's a lot of services out there, and we know firsthand that here's 3 choices. Every one of our guys are going in for these 3 choices. Let's get it done as fast as we can do it. We want to get it done fast. We get that. We have a busy workday. But at the same time, it's our job to draw our guys' tags.
Yeah, the tags they want, not just random tags. We value the criteria and the interview process we've had with them and what they've told us they want, the weapon type, the trophy criteria, guided or self-guided, physical limitations, all those types of things that they've given us. Match that the best we can, because if they do it for 5 or 10 years and never draw anything, and sometimes that can happen.
You're going to lose clients
Yep.
if you don't draw them tags, and you're going to lose clients if you draw them the wrong tags.
That's right.
And abuse their points.
That's
that
right.
they've saved up. And
so we understand that, because we've lived it ourselves for so long in terms of how we try to acquire our own tags.
Well, and it's how we've done. It's how we've been so successful over the years. We've hunted a lot of country. We've killed a lot of game, and we've done it large part 50, 60, 70% through the draw process. And so, it's the name of the game. You have to do it. If you want to go hunt, you can go hunt. If you need some landowner tags, no problem. You don't need the licensed app service to do that. But just as buying landowner tags supplements the draws supplement landowner tags. You've got to do it all.
That's right.
There's a time and place for all of it.
And I'd say one of the side benefits to being a licensed application client is we know your preferences in each state so intimately that if another opportunity comes up for a landowner tag that's in a state that you're not doing, we're going to say, hey, call you up, and we've got an opportunity that you may have missed if you weren't a client.
Well, and we have guys, John, that talked to Adam and I about maybe, hey, I'm willing to go. I've got the points. If you find me the right opportunity with the right private land piece and the right outfitter in Wyoming for deer, I will go. If you can find the right antelope hunt for me in Wyoming, I will go. I've got the points and I'm ready to go. And so we will have openings come up. We call them. We go through the license app guys. We figure out, here's 5 guys that this will work for, and they will love this hunt. And we draw them the tag and they go.
Yeah.
And so it's everything. It's interactive. It's very interactive. When you're doing a license app service, you're interacting with the guide hunt side. You're interacting with everything. And sometimes there's just DIY, so to speak, guys. The guys that just want to do it on their own. Hopefully we've hunted at the areas and we can help them. If not, we have a member experience list where we can send them names and numbers of members who've hunted these units in the past. And in large part, people are willing to help each other because these are tags that don't come around very often, and they're not going to be, hunting against each other, so to speak, every year in and year out. So anyway.
As far as maybe a timeline, the Alaska Doll Sheep in December is the first deadline. Then starting the first of the year is when everything kind of kicks off. So if you're interested in having us take care of your license applications, you can visit our website. The application forms are on there. Just realize at the end of the year, first of the year, is that time we really like to have a visit and a strategy building process for that year. Doesn't mean you couldn't call us in February or March and say, hey, I've been behind, I missed a state or two, pick me up from here on. We're always glad to do that. But looking ahead, if you're watching this, consider or have another service do your applications already, give us a call, see if we can help you do it in a better way.
Yeah, we'd love to visit with you. We do it every day. And so anyway, we'll do it this summer. We're happy to visit with you here in July before the hunts get going and get things going, get you over onto the Epic application service and get you in our system. We're a very interactive service, very personalized service, and we'd love to visit with you. And, you can reach us at 435-263-0777, or you can email us info@epicoutdoors.com. That comes to our secretary. She sends it to us. We'll be back in touch with you. And like Adam said, you can download the forms on the web, mail them in, send them in over the email, take pictures with your phone and send them in, or we can just do it over the phone. Either way, we're going to want to visit with you over the phone and finalize those applications and make sure we're doing exactly what you want us to do. So.
And I just say it's never too late to start building points. Even if you're older, a lot of us who draw, we're starting at 0. And so you're starting with a lot of other guys, and
never too late.
Never
just
too
like
late.
You said, John, you're hunting Colorado every 3 years. Some of us are hunting it every single year. And so you can draw a second choice this year, gain a point, apply and get points and whatnot. And then like we talked about earlier, Adam, like you guys can draw with 0 points here in the state of Utah. You can draw with 0 points in the state of Nevada. New Mexico doesn't have a point system. Idaho doesn't have a point system. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and you cannot draw unless you're in the draw. So anyway, that's our job, to get you tags and to help you on the different aspects of your hunting desires and what you want to do. Develop 0, 1, 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plans, plus plans, 20-year plans, and to get you tags and just let you know of the opportunities that are out there. And it's your job to tell us what you want to do. All right, guys. That's it, huh?
Yep.
All right. Till next time.